In the vastness of the realm of pure imagination, my mind has no bounds. I become one who knows. Excuse me, but being an omniscient cosmic entity takes a lot out of you. Hello, I'm Professor Stephen Arms, and I want to welcome you to my critiques and reviews of various cinematographic and video endeavors that are going to be put out by various peoples. I'll mostly probably be in the field of sci-fi, fantasy, comic book movies or ones, which I'm going to be starting with doing the what ifs. Occasionally, political pieces or music might be possible, and I'm going to make use of my experience as a comic book aficionado for my entire life, a historian and professor of history, and of course, being a part-time cosmic entity. So the first of the items I want to take a look at is the Marvel What If series. Of course, this is an animated series that they're putting on the Marvel channel, Disney Channel, of course, but Marvel, whatever. And it has several episodes at this point. If you've been watching it, you're going, well, why are you reviewing it now? Well, now that I've had a half a dozen or so of them under the belt, I want to start going through and reviewing them one by one. I'm going to be starting with the first one, of course, which is logical, which is what if the first Avenger had been Captain Carter? And this one is probably the best of the series. The What If Captain Carter was the first Avenger. Of course, it came out this year in August, 2021, of course. And of course, the story follows, of course, in World War II, Steve Rogers was the one who had been chosen to be the first super soldier. And in this one, when he's in the area, goes into the machine, he's all ready for Stark to turn the juice on and him to get the super soldier serum. What happened in this one that was different is, and this is one of the things that makes what ifs interesting, that if you can do it and only change one event and everything becomes different, and it's only one minor event, then you have a very interesting story. They did that in this one. They fail quite a bit in the later ones, which is one of my problems we'll find with the later episodes. But in this one, when Peggy Carter, who is asked, would you like to go sit up in the gallery above to observe the experiment, Carter smiles and supports Steve and says, no, I'm fine where I am. And she stays there. So when the spy ends up setting off a bomb, he kills the general, of course, which is Tommy Lee Jones's character. That way you don't have to get his voice for the animated version because he's expensive, I'm sure. And he, of course, kills Erskine. And Rogers actually charges out of him, gets out of the machine and charges at him and gets shot himself and fairly severely wounded. At which point he grabs a vial of super soldier serum and he turns around and Peggy Carter's standing there with her gun out and she shoots him dead. End of Nazi threat. He dies and the actor goes off to play Thorin Oakenshield in Peter Jackson's Hobbit movies. And I'll give you a quick review of those. The first one was okay. I liked most of it. It wasn't true to the book that much, but where it missed, I wasn't that bad about it. The second one was crap. The third one was sewage. They're not worth watching. Watch the first one and then pretend the ending works the way you want it to be. Because everything after that is pretty much garbage. Now, quick review, and that didn't take hardly time at all. Now, moving on back to Peggy Carter, of course, with Rogers injured, they need to figure out what they're going to do. The experiment is becoming unstable because of the damage, and they have one shot to do it. And Carter gets in the machine and goes through the super soldier process and becomes a super soldier. So she ends up being the Captain America but of course not Captain America because she's British. So they end up calling her just Captain Carter eventually. So as Rogers is wounded, he still is in the story and becomes a part of it later on, but at this point in it, he's more of a background character. She, of course, is now enhanced, but she's banned by the SSR leader, which is, I think, Colonel Flynn, John Flynn is his name. And what she ends up doing is that she goes on to a mission eventually when she finds out about that the Tesseract is being moved. Following the story about what happened in Norway and the invasion, she kind of goes on an unofficial mission and seriously kicks ass. I mean, she's she's stronger than probably Rogers' Captain America, but she was probably stronger than Steve Rogers was originally. And again, she's someone who understands weakness, which Erskine talks about in the first Captain America movie. She understands the value of strength.
The serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great, bad becomes worse. This is why you were chosen. Because a strong man who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power, but a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
But she seriously kicks ass at it, and is amazed about it herself at how tough and powerful she is. And once they get the Tesseract, she gives it back to Howard Stark, who, by the way, has always been my favorite of the Starks. I mean, people go, Robert Downey Jr. launched the Marvel Universe, you wouldn't have all this, and that's true. Robert Downey Jr. is a good actor. He was able to make an unsympathetic jackanape character named Tony Stark and make him somewhat sympathetic for a while. The first movie, he's that way. By the time we get to Endgame, who cares at this point? All the problem is almost heaped on top of him. I'm sorry. I like Downey Jr.'s performances. He's a good actor. I thought Sherlock Holmes was pretty darn good. But, Howard Stark is a much more interesting character than Tony Stark. And my nephew's a big Iron Man fan, so if he hears that, he's going to go on a rampage. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, they get the Tesseract back to Stark, and Stark uses it and puts it into a set of battle armor, kind of like very similar to Tony Stark's original Iron Man armor, very large, what they call a Hydra Buster. And when Peggy goes to rescue the 104th, which is trapped behind enemy lines, which of course friends of Steve Rogers, she ends up going there and doing that mission. They're fighting their way out, and they're doing fine, but it's a lot of resistance, and all of a sudden tanks show up. And then right after that, this big robot shows up and basically crushes tanks. You get to see what even Captain Carter can do to a tank. She just takes out a tread with her shield very nicely. So anyway, you end up with Steve Rogers as a hero being the Hydra Buster, and you end up, of course, Captain Carter being a hero as Captain Carter now. And I'm glad they didn't give her some other weird name, make her into in the Peggy Carter series on television. The Dum Dum Dugan was going to call her Miss Union Jack, and I'm glad they didn't do that. So anyway, so now Stark has the Tesseract. The Hydra doesn't have it. But of course, the Red Skull wants it back. And it's interesting because things happen much more quickly. Bucky doesn't get to be experimented on by Armin Zola, so you're not going to have the Winter Soldier. He, matter of fact, is going along there, and when they finally do the mission that's similar to the one, they call it mission is Where Eagles Dare, which of course is a very cool movie with Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton. But they are attacking the train, and it was actually a trick to catch the Hydra Buster, and the whole train blows up, and it basically, I guess, stuns Rogers because the armor is supposed to be almost indestructible. And that's the way the Red Skull is able to get his Tesseract back. But since I guess he had to change his philosophy because he'd spent some more time having to think about it, rather than having now been able to create weapons with it, what he ends up doing is he's going to use the dimensional properties of the Tesseract, because he's been studying the ancient tomes on that, to bring forth a champion of Hydra to destroy the world. When the train blows up, Carter believes Rogers is dead, and we have the tragedy because they're beginning to have a budding romance in a kind of a... Remember, she liked Rogers when he was weenie anyway. So the Red Skull wants to use the Tesseract to open up a portal to summon some sort of interdimensional monster. And they figure out where it's happening. It's going to be difficult to get inside. They find a way to get in. They fight their way inside. The Red Skull's, boo-ha-ha, and you pull the levers, and the Tesseract opens up the dimensional gate, and out comes tentacles, because ever since H.P. Lovecraft, if you're going to have extra-dimensional monsters, you got to have tentacles. So the tentacles come through, and the Red Skull's, of course, it's not the same actor, that played him in the movies, because Marvel must have done something to him, because he hasn't been back since the first movie. the situation is that he ends up being, the monster is there. Peggy Carter's, oh my God. And they're there. And of course, the first thing it does is it grabs the tentacle and kills the Red Skull, which, it's the old lesson of, you really should be careful what you're wishing for, Johann Schmidt, you might get more than you ask for. So they ended up, and Carter's trying to fight it, and it's more than you can handle. The Howling Commandos get in there, and they're not going to do with it. Stark is working on, of course, they brought him along in this mission because they said they might need someone to push buttons, and lo and behold, they did. And they ended up, he's working on shutting the machine down. Rogers you find, is still alive. He's still in the armor, but the Tesseract has been pulled out. They put a temporary charge into it, and he's able to continue to help Peggy fight against this creature. And in the very end of it, she puts her shield into it, and she pushes it and pushes the tentacles back as the doors, power stop, but the doors open because the creature's not letting it close. And she pushes in and gets it in through the door, and the door closes, and Rogers is on the other side, and they're, again, time lost love again. There, no romance for these two. And of course, the very ending of it is that you have Nick Fury and you have Hawkeye in, of course, modern times, using the Tesseract to open up again, and Carter and a bunch of dead tentacles flop through. And it's only been a few seconds, apparently, for her. And they have to let her know that, but they know who she is. That's Captain Carter. It's Hawkeye. Is really good. Give old Clint Barton credit every once in a while. And he ends up, of course, she goes, well, we won the war. But again, it's sad because she lost her love. Now, if I were going to critique this, I would have to invoke the power of persnickiness. I would argue, why did the Red Skull change his plan from building weapons to opening the dimensional portal? And the problem is I can almost come back and critique it the other way because, well, they did it because he didn't have the time he had to play around with the Tesseract in his possession that he had in the movie. So he wasn't able to siphon his energies off. By the time he get it, he'd moved into the idea of creating summoning a champion, which may be one of his plan B or plan C's anyway. He's a megalomaniac supervillain. They always have plan C's and plan D's and plan L's and all that. He's a mastermind after all. So I can critique it, but all in all, it was good. I liked every bit of it. And you have Haley Atwell's voice, of course, is Peggy Carter. Great actress. Love her in everything I've seen her in. Hell, I liked her in the Winnie the Pooh movie, and that was dumb, but she was good in it. Sebastian Stan, of course, is Bucky Barnes, and I've liked his Winter Soldier stuff. I wasn't a big fan of the Winter Soldier in the Falcon series. I thought it was okay, but I thought he was good. I thought the actors are good. I think the story was kind of weak. Of course, Dominic Cooper is the actor who plays Howard Stark, and I like him. He, like I said, he's one of the characters I really like. They even had Stanley Tucci, who as Erskine, he only had a couple of lines, but he was there. And Toby Jones is Armin Zola, and he's a good, slimy little villain type. The actor that plays the Red Skull is Ross Marquand, I think it is. His name is pronounced. And again, he's, they just couldn't get. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Heed the word of one who knows.
Having invoked my cosmic senses, it's Hugo Weaving is the name that I was looking for. It's a shame, a good actor. I liked him in pretty much everything he's done too. He was in The Matrix, obviously. He's Mr. Smith in The Matrix. He was Elrond in The Lord of the Rings. And of course, he was the Red Skull, Johann Schmidt. And I actually liked him as a Red Skull since he's kind of a two-dimensional, woo-ha-ha comic book villain. But again, but I don't know what Marvel did to him, but he doesn't want to come back and do the Red Skull. Even for voice work, that would be strange. But anyway, so all in all, in conclusion, which is, I'd say to make a long story short, but I think I can't do that anymore because I made it too long. I really like this. I would have given this, if I were grading it as a professor and given it a grade, I'd give it an A. I had almost no problems with all, and that's unusual in Marvel. Because most of Marvel's work I can really have some serious problems with. And I like some of the movies that are their weird ones, and I dislike their big ones as much. I liked the Avengers, and that was it from that point on, they went downhill very quickly, to give you an example. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I like both of them, and I still do. I think they have a different value. And that's the thing about this one that I liked, is you got to see the humanity of these characters. I mean, ultimately, it's still a romance. It's Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers trying to figure out how to be in love together in this crazy time with super soldiers and Red Skulls lying around and Tesseracts. And kind of the same argument, and other ones we'll see. And I'll probably review some of the movies later on myself, too, and when I'm doing these later ones. But I wanted to start out with this one. The next one I'm going to be doing will be, what if T'Challa had become Star-Lord? And I saw that title and I really liked it, because I've always been a big Black Panther fan. I'll put it this way. The first time I saw the Black Panther was in Fantastic Four 52, which is his first appearance period. I thought he was a cool character then. And I followed him along the line. So I really wanted to like this one, but I didn't. But I'll get into that to my next critique. But I'm setting people up, anybody watching and going, I didn't like the next one, and I'll explain to you why. So anyway, thank you for listening, and I know this is full of spoilers. I'll make sure to put that on my title, because I don't really care. I figure at this point everyone's seen it, has seen it. But that's my opinions of it, and hopefully you found it enlightening. Thank you.
If you wish to join the quest for knowledge, the battle for truth, please hit the like button, recommend my channel to others, and of course subscribe. Thank you kindly.